Hello everyone. Ferdowsi Shahnameh, a thousand-year-old epic poem, holds the record of the longest poem by a single author and considered the most influential book in Persian language, as it helped its survival against the Arabic language. Who was Ferdowsi and why did he write this book? What is Shahnameh about? And why is it so important for Persian speakers? Why is it almost impossible to translate? These are some of the questions I'm going to answer in this video. Okay, let's begin. First, let me tell you about the author. Abul Qasim Ferdowsi was born in 940 and died in 1020. So this year, 2020, is his 1000th anniversary. You might be interested to know that Ferdowsi means paradise, and both words are from the same root. When the Arab Muslims took over, there was a shift from P to F because there is no P sound in Arabic. So Paradisi or paradise in English became Ferdowsi. Parsi became Farsi. The Persians who fled Muslims to India, they still call themselves Parsis and practice Zoroastrian religion. Ferdowsi was born in the city of Tus, near modern city of Mashhad in northeastern Iran, in a well-off family of landowners. And he spent his entire adult life writing this book, showing remarkable patience and dedication. For some reason, I imagine Tolstoy, also a landowner, writing long books about wars. There is a sad tale about Ferdowsi though. Not sure if it's true. Initially, he was promised 1 gold coin for each verse, and he wrote about 60,000 verses. After 30 years, he presented to the King Sultan Mahmud of Ghazna. He was given 60,000 silver coins instead. Oops, he should have hired a good lawyer. Later, when Sultan Mahmud realizes Shahnameh's true value, he sends gold coins, but it's too late as Ferdowsi's body is being carried to the cemetery at the same time. You might be interested to know that Sultan Mahmud was the guy who looted India so many occasions in the name of Islam. You know what I think? Sultan Mahmud was a Turk, and Shahnameh doesn't have a lot of nice things to say about the Turks. To be honest, it doesn't have nice things to say about anyone who is not Iranian. Ferdowsi didn't invent the stories, he collected them and put them into verse to make it easy for people to memorize. So today we have about 50,000 rhyming couplets. He also filled the missing parts to make it into a single coherent narrative form. Also fictionalized some historical events to fit his somewhat nationalistic viewpoint. For example, Alexander the Great is half Iranian. You might ask, why would you spend your entire life on a single project? Well, this is 10th century. There's no TV or the internet. Joking aside, his intentions were threefold. Money for one, which he didn't get as much as he wanted. Second, a personal legacy. In the same way Marcel Proust wrote the longest novel, In Search of Lost Time, to leave an artistic legacy, which I made a video about, you can watch here. Ferdowsi says, I suffered the past 30 years to build a palace of words that no wind or rain can damage, and people will praise my name for generations to come. 1,000 years later, he is not only remembered, but loved by millions of Persian speakers all over the world. But more than a personal legacy or financial rewards, I think Ferdowsi had a greater motivation. 200 years before he was born, the Arab Muslims had conquered Persia, and most people were converted from Zoroastrian to Islam. Arabic replaced the Persian as a language of science and literature, and local cultures and customs were slowly dying out. Persian myths and stories were replaced by myths and stories from the Quran. So Ferdowsi had a really serious job in hand. He had to save the language, the myths, the stories, and customs. Today he is considered the father of Persian language, more important than Shakespeare is in English. If you compare the Persian world with Egypt, you know why Ferdowsi is so important. Egypt completely Arabized, while Persian language is still spoken by more than 150 million people. Shahnameh is written in the Khorasani dialect, which is Eastern Iran, Northwestern Afghanistan, and Central Asia, close to modern-day Dari Persian spoken in Afghanistan or Tajik in Central Asia. The amazing thing is that modern Persian speakers have no problem understanding this 1,000-year-old book. Some attribute this to Shahnameh itself for keeping the language pretty much the same. In English, Beowulf was written around the same time, but looks a complete different language, closer to Icelandic than English. So is Canterbury Tales, written 4 centuries later. Even Shakespeare is hard going for most English speakers today. But Persian speakers today have no problem with Shahnameh, or 90 to 95% of it. Today we associate Persian with Iran, but modern Persian as we know today developed in the area as known as Bactria or Balkh region, close to the Oxus River. Ferdowsi lived during the Samanid dynasty, which was based in Bukhara, modern-day Uzbekistan, and later Ghaznavid, which was based in Ghazna, modern-day Afghanistan. In both courts, the language was Persian, perhaps due to its distance from Baghdad, which was the center of Islamic civilization. Shahnameh covers some 6,000 years of history of Iran and Central Asia, from the first humans to the arrival of Muslim Arabs in 650. It has 3 sections: mythical, heroic, and historical, or beginning, middle, and end, so to speak. The mythical section is pretty short and deals with creation of first people and the discovery of fire, Zoroastrian religion, and agriculture. An interesting thing is this section is Zahak, the Arab king with 2 snakes growing on each shoulder and feeding on human brain, a bit similar to Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter. In this section, people live for thousands of years, similar to those in the Jewish Bible. The origin of Nowruz, which is a Persian New Year, also explained in this section. The world is divided into 3 kingdoms: Iran, Turan, which is Central Asia, and Salm, which is Anatolia and the Caucasus. The conflict between Iran and Turan takes center stage in the next section. The heroic section, which is almost 60% of the book, is mainly about one family of heroes, and at the heart of it is one man, Rostam. His father, Zal, an albino man raised by a mythical bird, Simur, or phoenix. Rostam is like Hercules or Achilles in Homer's Iliad. He is the bravest and noblest Iranian. Rostam is always called for when the kingdom is under attack, so he is a king saver and sometimes even kingmaker. Despite his invincibility, he is human, sometimes makes terrible mistakes. The most heart-wrenching part of Shahnameh is when Rostam kills Sohrab, only to find out that he was his own son. This part is written with so much emotion that really breaks your heart. Rostam's grief is so overwhelming, as if his world has turned into a complete and utter darkness. This giant of a man is reduced to gut-wrenching sorrow. Here, the poetry is absolutely amazing. Siawash is another tragic hero accused of rape. He goes through fire to prove his innocence, but later murdered by the Turanian king and becomes a symbol of innocence and absolute victim. At some point, Rostam is too old and refuses to save the king from another Turanian attack. Iran is saved by another hero, Isfandiar. He challenges Rostam to become the ultimate hero in Iran. In this epic battle, Rostam shoots an arrow into Isfandiar's eyes, but he is devastated for killing another Iranian hero. This is a bad omen. He knew it. Soon after, Rostam's half-brother, with the help from the king of Kabul, incidentally his mother was also from Kabul, plots against them and kills him. This is the end of the heroic section. The historical section deals with historical events from Alexander's invasion to the Arab invasion in 650 AD. Western readers might jump to the section of Alexander the Great, of course, fictionalized by Ferdowsi as half Persian and half Greek. Nicely done, Ferdowsi, thinking nobody would notice that. Alexander's mother is a Greek princess, but after the Iranian king sleeps with her, he is repulsed by her bad breath that the king decides to send her back to Greece. I guess here Ferdowsi is really taking revenge on the endless insults from the Greeks over the centuries about how terrible the Persians were. The young man takes revenge a few years later and conquers Persia. In this section, the main hero is Bahram Chubina, and some good kings and some terrible kings. It ends when the Arab Muslims show up to replace the throne with the religious altar. Ferdowsi at this point is 65 years old and tells that he will not die, as people will remember him forever. He got that right, that devil. He knew it. Okay, so here are a few interesting things I noticed in Shahnameh. The first thing that was really interesting was trash talking. There's so much trash talking before every fight. It's quite funny how Ferdowsi allows his characters to tell their thoughts and feelings, boasting and showing off their arrogance. Some people joke that modern Iranians have a similar tendency to see themselves above everybody else. I guess that can be said about many people in the world. Maybe the influence of Shahnameh had something to do with it. The second thing I noticed was horses have almost godlike qualities for the Iranians. Rostam's horse, Rakhsh, for example, is smarter than him most of the time. This horse has a well-developed character and treated better than humans and almost having a divine power. When Rostam is fooled at the end, Rakhsh knows the plot but has to obey Rostam despite knowing that they are plunging to their death. When I think of Iranian today, horse is the last thing on my mind. We tend to associate horses with the people of Central Asia and the steppes, like the Turks and the Mongols. There's a theory that the Iranians might be from the steppes of Central Asia themselves, who came down a few thousand years ago. Then the Turks followed perhaps 1,000 years later, and finally the Mongols in the 13th century. Women. Most women are paper-cut characters, but occasionally you come across female warriors or strong women, mostly in Kabul, Turan, Bal, or Rome. They take initiatives and try to get in touch with the strong, handsome men. Incidentally, all the major heroes have non-Iranian mothers. Rostam's mother is from Kabul, Sohrab's mother is from Samangan, north of Kabul. Alexander's mother is Greek, of course. Isfandiar's mother is Roman. It seems Ferdowsi didn't think much of Iranian women, or perhaps 250 years of Islamic rule had changed the landscape for women, that one could only associate a strong woman with foreign lands. War. Shahnameh means Book of Kings, a lot of gory violence and killings. Despite peaceful periods, war appears constant. It has to do with the setting, I guess. The Persians were at the crossroad between Rome, China, Arabia, Central Asia, and India. So anyone moving between these places have to go through Iran. It's like living in a corridor. So keeping your land from invasion becomes the most important. So the narrative centers on keeping the Persians safe. The land seems quite barren for the most part, except cypress trees. All the beautiful men are like cypress tree, and women like the moon. Being in time. Ferdowsi believes in dualism, good and evil, Iran, Turan, just and unjust kings. He believes in cyclical nature of life as kings come and go. Despite his fatalistic view, he also believes in change through wisdom. His message is, life being so short and good times ends quickly. It is clear Ferdowsi thinks of legacy as very important in life, as he spent all his life to do just that. Ancient socialist. Ferdowsi introduces Mazdak as an egalitarian philosopher and reformer. He demands justice for the poor and more equality, but he is killed for his modern views. A socialist who lived in ancient Iran thousands of years before Marx. I thought that was really interesting. Shahnameh is considered the Bible or the Quran of Persian language. It's more than that. It's central in the modern notion of Iran and Iranian national identity, even state building. Iranian secular intellectuals consider this book sacred and their proudest treasure, and a thread that connects modern Iran with pre-Islamic Iran, but also a source of anxiety and nostalgia among some as to what they have lost, so it can keep you stuck in the past a bit. Sadiq Hidayat, whose masterpiece The Blind Owl I discussed in another video, draws a lot on Shahnameh as a source of Persian psyche prior to the Arab invasion, which he considered one of the three disasters for the Persian civilization, the other being Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan. I should also mention that the Mongols, considered by most Iranians as destroyer of their culture, actually loved Shahnameh and adapted and promoted Persian language against Arabic, and even took it to India. Translation. Shahnameh is so tied to the Persian language in its musicality and rhythmic sound that makes it really hard to translate that effect into English, as it loses that magic and becomes a bit bland. Persian speakers love its verse poetry, so much so that all the great poets from Rumi, Hafiz, Sadi, and Khayyam all took inspiration from this book to produce their own masterpieces. Dick Davis's prose translation of Shahnameh is perhaps the easiest to read in English. There is also a free translation of Shahnameh online at thegutenberg.org. It has 62 stories, so each story can be read separately. It might be a bit tedious to read from beginning to end in one go, or just wait when they make a TV show out of it that looks like the Game of Thrones. You might be interested to know that in Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini, which I spoke in another video, Hassan, who comes from the Hazara ethnic group, a Persian speaker, has his favorite tale is that of Rostam and Sohrab. People in Afghanistan also claim Shahnameh to be theirs, as most of the places mentioned to be inside Afghanistan. It's certainly become somewhat political now, which is quite sad. But there is no doubt that this is an amazing work of literature and not very well known in the West, unfortunately. I hope more people read and appreciate this amazing book, which was written 1,000 years ago, which is fantastic in itself. I'm on a journey to read books and stories from every country on earth, so if you want to tag along, please subscribe, share and comment. It helps the channel. In the coming weeks, I will make another video comparing Shahnameh with the Tale of Genji, also written around the same time. Thank you and happy reading.